Welcome to the second session of the today's lecture. In today's lecture, I am discussing about the structure chart. There are two ways through which we can convert the structure design into the structure chart. That is your transform analysis and the transaction analysis. The transform analysis is applicable only when all the input arrow is coming to a single bubble, while the transaction analysis is applicable to a small problem. In the transaction analysis, the transaction means that a function ability that lets a user to perform a meaningful piece of work using the software. Transaction means an action will be done. On giving the input, some action will be done. And the transform analysis is like if all the inputs are coming to the single bubble that represents the process, then we apply a transform analysis, and the transform analysis is normally applicable at the lower levels of the DFD model. We were talking about the factoring. The process of breaking the functional component into the subcomponent is factoring, and it includes adding your reading and writing modules, error handling modules, initialization and the termination modules, and these all bubbles are mapped to the modules. Now let's take one example. We have a tic-tac-toe software. In the tic-tac-toe software, either of the human player or the computer wins. If any one of them wins, then there will be a congratulation message will be displayed that the winner, congratulations to the winner. If neither of the human being or the computer manages to get 3 consecutive marks along a straight line and all the squares on the board are filled up, then the game is drawn. And the computer always try to win a game. This is the context level diagram for the tic-tac-toe software, where we have a human player, which is the external entity interact with the software, and we have the tic-tac-toe software. Why there is 0? Because it is a 0 level diagram or the context diagram. Now this is your level 1 diagram, where we have first the move is done. There is a move. Then once the move is done by the human being, we validate that move. Then the computer will play its move. The move will be displayed on the board and the result will be checked. So this is your label 1 diagram. Now once we draw the structure chart for this data flow diagram, then it will be represented like we have a root, then a good move will be made. Once the move will be done, the move will be validated. Then the move will be done by the computer system. And then the winner will be checked and the result will be displayed. So this is how we represent the structure chart. A, the structure chart is represented using the rectangular boxes and the arrow. Now we have a transaction analysis. In the transaction analysis means it is useful for designing the transaction processing program. Here we have a transformed center system and a transaction driven system. In a transformed centered system, it is characterized by the similar processing steps for every data item that is processed by input, process and the output bubble. And in the transaction driven system, through the DFD is traversed depending upon the input data value. The transaction itself means when an input is given, an action will be performed, and it is represented by a tag identifying its type. The transaction analysis uses this tag to divide the system into several transaction module, or there will be a one transaction module which is your center module. A transaction analysis is an alternative to the transform analysis, and it is useful while the designing transaction processing program. A transaction allows the user to perform some meaningful piece of work which is done by the software. For example, if we have a library information system, then issuing a book, returning a book, query a book. For every input, some action will be done. Then it is your transaction analysis. In transform analysis, first all data which is entering into the data flow diagram are the identified. I am talking about the transform analysis. In transform analysis, what happens? All the data which is entering into the data flow diagram are need to be identified. But in a transaction driven system, the different data items may pass through the different computation path through the DFD. The number of bubbles on which the input data to the DFD are incident define the number of transactions. However, some transactions may not require any input data. These transactions can be identified from the experience of solving a large number of examples. Thank you.